Hey guys, welcome to Get Busy Watching. I'm your host, Honest Dan. Let's talk movies. As if getting vaccinated somehow makes me invincible, I decided to actually go out to a motion picture theater. Yes, I am very brave, or very foolish. Either way, this was actually kind of a special occasion for me, because one of my favorite theaters, the Landmark in Westwood Boulevard, Los Angeles, finally reopened. Early on in the pandemic, James Gunn gave out a pretty solid idea on how to support your local theaters, by purchasing gift cards to be used later. For the Landmark, that's exactly what I did. 100 big ones. But as the months went by, I wasn't even sure if they were going to reopen. Suddenly, my anxiety started doing an anxiety. Worst case scenario went through my head. What if purchasing the gift card wasn't enough? What if not enough people helped out like that? What would happen if the theater completely shut down? Did I just shoot $100 into space? Well, here we are now, so clearly I was sweating over nothing, thank fuck. And man, was I pumped to haunt this place again. I had it all planned out. Movies at 7:10, leave the house at around 4, take an hour to get there thanks to 405 traffic, and hang out at the bar for a couple hours to greet the bar staff that I haven't seen in well over a year now. Hoping to see some familiar faces and know that everyone got through the soul-crushing fuckface year that was 2020. I gotta tell ya, I was in a good-ass mood on the drive there, rocking out to my new favorite symphonic metal band, Imperial Age. Seriously, their Legacy of Atlantis album is fucking awesome. But upon arrival, the bar was dark. And to the staff's understanding, no word on when it'll open up. Makes sense, but it bummed me out. Not that the Landmark knows I have this channel, but to the bar staff of the Landmark, I really hope you guys are okay and holding up. Hope to see you guys sooner than later, but more importantly, safer. But for the reason we're all here, the movie review. I had been hearing some pretty good things about this one, so I wanted my first experience back in cinemas to be a good one, or at least a better one than Tenet. Didn't know too much about it, but I had high hopes. This is my honest opinion of Minari. Set in the 1980s, the Yee family has moved to Arkansas from California so Jacob, played by Steven Yeun, can start a farm. However, his decision is not a popular one, especially with his wife Monica, played by Yuri Han, who wishes to be back in California. Despite help coming in the form of Monica's mother Sunja, played by Yajung Yoon, the family dynamic is thrown into complete chaos, especially when their son David, played by Alan Kim, starts acting out, not liking his kindly grandmother.
그러지 말고 들어와봐. 야.
우리가 약속했던 건 이게 아니잖아.
여기.
I might be overthinking this, but I just cannot get past certain ideas. Before I get lynched, let's talk about the positives. I really enjoyed the family dynamic in the Yee family. Everyone seems to be on completely separate wavelengths, with the exception of Jacob and little David. The boys seem to be really digging their new life. Their daughter, Anne, played by Noelle Cho, just kind of seems to be going with whatever. But it's Monica that really seems to be resisting what Jacob is trying to do. And quite frankly, it's not hard to see why, but we'll get to that later. The family is really thrown into disarray when Sunja enters the picture, having never seen or even met her grandson before, and David starting off being completely unsure of her, eventually just flat out refusing to like her. But she likes him. Yoon, for much of the flick, really steals the show as this incredibly sweet woman. What really tickles me about Sunja is how she gets sucked into American culture in a way that even Monica can't seem to. Like, she'll just sit in front of the TV, already a hardcore American thing to do, and just watch wrestling. It's downright amazing and hilarious to see this born and bred Korean woman find such entertainment.
아이고, 저 근육 좀 봐.
대단하다.
But if there's anyone that goes from scene stealing to scene chewing, Will Patton, who plays Paul, Jacob's right-hand man. Paul is a Korean War veteran. He's a kindly man who is eager to help Jacob with his farm, but is pretty loopy. He lays on his religious beliefs thick. Every Sunday, apparently, he carries a giant cross like Jesus did down the middle of the road. There's even a bit where Jacob tries to offer Paul a cigarette, but he almost flees away from the thing, turning down the offer in a relatively over-the-top way. And it was here that I thought to myself, wow, this man is almost too good at playing this role. I mean, I loved it, but it got real sometimes. The acting is wonderful and feels impassioned, and everyone gets their own time in the sun. So it's not hard to get engaged with what everyone is doing and how they're feeling. This truly uplifts the film and keeps it afloat. However, I alluded to the fact that I had gripes. And one of them I didn't realize until I was writing all this out, so let's get into it. Smaller gripe first, David's a little shit. I mean, I have to assume this kid's around his parents a lot, and they've likely taught him the very bare-bone basics of politeness. Yet he's waddling around telling Sunja that she's not a real grandma and goes to some pretty extreme lengths to get back at her for not being what he thinks she should be like.
할머니는 진짜 할머니 같지 않아요.
할머니 같은 게 뭔데?
쿠키도 만들고 나쁜 말도 안 했고 남자 팬티도 안 입고.
그래? 그럼
하지마.
Okay, I get it. He's a kid. Kids at that age say the darndest things, am I right? They're unfiltered, untrained in social cues and acceptability. But even when he does something and gets caught doing it, Sunja doesn't stay mad at him or allow him to be punished, still calling him a sweet boy and everything, which drives me nuts. Sure, the parents don't approve of his behavior and actions, but they don't do much in the way of concrete punishment. Frankly, I'm staggered that David isn't more out of control than he is, and he's pretty freaking wild as it stands.
Oh, you're to eat it. So don't eat it, stupid.
There's some artificial drama that was inserted at the end, but I think it's more meant to serve some symbolism that happens right after that. And I admit that was actually pretty powerful, so I'm going to let that slide. What I really wanted to talk about was Jacob. First off, I understand Jacob's motivations for being out here. He wants to live a life that feels more fulfilling than working a dead-end job sexing chickens for the rest of his life. Commendable on the surface, and Monica's rejection of this new life does add interesting drama. But here's what gets me. Monica's hatred for being here is far more understandable than Jacob's love for being here. For most of the story, Monica's primary concern is David because he has a heart condition. Should something happen to him, the nearest hospital is an hour away.
그러다 쟤한테 무슨 일이라도 생기면 병원까지는 1시간이나 걸리잖아.
I honest to shit thought this was clunky foreshadowing. Thank God it wasn't. But the point still stands that Jacob seems to live in his own unforgivable bubble. This is supposed to be an uplifting, small-scale, triumphant story about a family going through hardship and persevering, or being so utterly determined to see their hard work pay off that no amount of setbacks will deter them from trying to work that much harder for a better future. And for the most part, that is what this story is. But why at the expense of David? Monica even says that there's farmland closer to the city.
로저스 가도 5에이커는 살 수 있잖아.
Not that big, of course, but it's at least more convenient should the worst ever happen. But Jacob is completely dismissive of this. He even declares later on,
애들도 한 번쯤 아빠가 뭔가 해내는 거 봐야 될 거 아니야.
Two problems there, chap. One, it is really hard for a dead kid to see their parents succeed or fail at anything. And two, if your kid dies in the name of you growing vegetables, don't worry. You failed royally, epically, monumentally, so monumentally that even Godzilla would feel impotent. By the way, I'm pretty sure that I said the new movie was coming out on the 25th. My bad. I didn't know it was pushed until the 31st. The point is, Jacob's motivations didn't make a lick of sense to me, and it drove me up the walls the more I thought about it. I won't knock anyone who really likes this. Hell, in the moment, I really liked it. The acting is wonderful, and there's a blue-collar passion that I absolutely adored. Characters like Monica and Sunja really saved the movie for me, and there's a really heartfelt and relatable message that I could really get behind about working hard, and no matter what the setbacks are, you can still keep going if you're willing to put in that time and effort. However, what really brings this movie down for me is Jacob. He just comes across as too selfish to me, picking himself and his dreams over the life of one of his children, and he's still framed as this like misunderstood hero type. I want to like this movie more than I do, but I just can't bring myself to like it as much as everyone else does. My honest rating for Minari, a strong 3 out of 5.
니네는 미나리가 뭔지 모르지, 미국 바보들은.
Thanks so much for watching, you guys. I really appreciate it. Have a great day. Stay safe and healthy out there. Please wear a mask if you go out. Get vaccinated for family, friends, and community. Hope to see you soon.